Live from MMA Fighting Studios, this is Between the Links. And now, your host, Mike Heck.
The iconic voice of Esther Lynn welcomes you to a brand new edition of Between the Links. Thank you for joining us this week. I apparently am broadcasting live from inside a potato. Not really sure why that's happening, but we battle through as we always do. Obviously, there's just so much going on in the news cycle right now that didn't really know how to organize the show. So we figured, you know what? Let's turn the programming over to you, our wonderful viewers, our wonderful listeners, for a special Q&A edition of BTL. And joining me in this venture, Mr. Hot Take himself, the man who co-hosts No Bets Barred. I believe a tremendous episode of Damn They Were Good is about to drop later on today. Let us say hello to Mr. Jed Meshew. Hello, Jed. How are you on this lovely Thursday?
Hey, buddy. Some have said that this episode of Damn is the best episode of Damn, and we believe so. So you should go check it out. It's great. I think it drops later this afternoon. So, yeah. Robert Glenn Lawler, ladies and gentlemen, the reason for whom we made this show in general. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about. Apparently, I went to bed last night and 1,000 things happened. So, happy to get into it.
Yeah, that's what typically happens. So, let's go into this thing. Let's go to you guys because we have main events that have fallen apart. One fighter needing a new opponent. We had a new main event announced. We had the return of one of the rising stars announced against a fighter who was supposed to compete next week. All sorts of craziness going on. So our wonderful producer, E. Casey Leiden, is going to pop up the questions and we will respond. There he is as such. And hopefully my video quality will improve. I don't know why my internet's flying right now, but Casey, excuse me, what do we got here? What do the peeps want to talk about?
All right. First of all, Mike, I just want to tell people you are actually pixelated in real life. You're like Bigfoot. You just kind of you're this blurry mammoth in the background.
What if Bigfoot is blurry? Thanks, Mitch Hedberg.
So there's like a little.
I got you, Casey. I saw you.
There's like a little screen that's below that I could see myself on, and it's like clear as a bell. So I don't really understand what's going on. Yeah. But
well, I'm clear. Jed's clear. You're the only one that's not clear. So I think I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's
one thing.
Is numbers. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah, damn it. If
right.
It's not one thing, it's another.
Only possible explanation.
Yes. All right. So what's going on in the wonderful world? Joseph Boza, was Makhachev versus Oliveira 2 a safe call to get tickets on sale? I thought the UFC would have picked either Dariush, Chandler, or Fiziev. I know they're 4 through 6 in rankings, but Jabronk said he wasn't ready. So I don't think Dariush would have been an option at all. I don't think Fiziev would have been an option at all. I think Chandler would have been option 3. I think Volk was probably the first option, but with the elbow surgery he had this week, too risky, obviously, for that card and the money that they pay the UFC to come over. And Jed, you and I have been saying for a little while now, at least I know I've talked about this on Heck of a Morning, Oliveira saying I'm not going to be ready until November or whatever. The dude may have just gotten a bag that's a little bit heavier. It might have been a nice little negotiation tactic. And as Walter White once said on Breaking Bad, is there anything in this world that isn't negotiable? And apparently Charles Oliveira fighting in October is one of those things that was negotiable. So would you consider this a safe call at all? Are you surprised this happened after Oliveira did a bunch of media and said, too soon for me?
I'm not surprised. I thought that there's probably 50-50 chance that this happened just because Charles Oliveira is not in a position to negotiate. Like he's not the champ. He doesn't get to call the shots. He didn't even get to call the shots when he was the champ. They sort of made him fight Islam in Abu Dhabi at that point in time. And so like it felt in general like it's probably him trying to make a play to maybe just not go to Abu Dhabi and do this back. But it's just he doesn't have Dricus du Plessis leverage, which we'll get into later, I'm sure. He is not like a bona fide with a bullet number one contender. He is the number one contender as a former champion, and he just had a sensational performance in what is ostensibly was a title eliminator. But this fight happened a year ago, so it's not like we got to do it immediately. Nobody else is on offer. they could pass him up for something else, for Michael Chandler, for hell, let Leon, let Islam do the Leon thing if they really want to do it. So he is at the mercy of the UFC. And I'm sure that they probably gave him, plato plomo. They gave him a bit more money. And they said, if you don't take the bit more money to do this fight, you're going to have to fight somebody else to get a title shot. And that's just how that works. So, yeah, I think this was probably the most likely scenario, though I was secretly holding out a hope that it would be the Michael Chandler fight, just because it would be really funny if Michael Chandler never fought Conor McGregor.
Yeah. Hey, listen, this is and I think Oliveira is at the mercy of the division too, because if he had let this pass and Makhachev fought Chandler or anybody else, the winner of Poirier-Gaethje is probably next and probably jumps over him. So if he ever wanted to get back to a rematch, if he ever wants to get back to Makhachev, this is probably his only chance to do it. So, and he probably got a few more extra bucks to do it. So good on you, man.
It's a very obvious business choice for him, because 1,000%, if he says, no, I can't fight until November, they'll be like, cool. So in November, you're going to fight Arman Tsarukyan. Yeah. Have fun with that. And we'll have Islam fight whoever. And his next fight will be against the BMF title winner. I don't care that you've beaten them both. Doesn't matter, man. So this sort of feels like the most likely scenario is playing out. And I'm just glad it did, because the brief internet talking between various parties surrounding the Abu Dhabi card has been a tough hang.
Yeah.
Everybody's running from everybody except for no one is running, because they're all professional fist fighters. And homie's not running from you. He beat you, Volk. Can deal with it. He actually has specifically said on multiple occasions, we will fight again, which he super didn't have to. It's nobody's running from anyone in this sport.
Yeah.
Just stop using that as the go-to line. You freaking idiots, man. This is tough.
I like how we use constantly. I feel like for the past few months, maybe even a couple years, when guys don't take fights that the UFC wants, they go, well, now you have to fight Tsarukyan. That's like,
Tsarukyan's like the worst possible outcome.
Yeah. He's like,
You're probably going to lose. It's going to suck for you.
I'll take a title fight. I won't fight Tsarukyan. I got it. All right. Man, but what if Oliveira truly wasn't ready? Or couldn't make this date? Would it have been Leon?
I think it would have been Leon. I think Leon would have had a shot at it.
What
do you think? They haven't made Leon Colby yet. You could make.
Yeah, that's weird. That was weird.
Dude, that fight's gonna happen in November. There's no doubt about it. It's just gonna happen in November. It makes no sense to throw Leon in Abu Dhabi when Colby.
If Oliveira wasn't ready, if Oliveira was not, it wasn't a give me a bigger bag thing. It was like, I seriously can't fight that date. If Oliveira's not ready, can't be Dariush. Maybe Chandler. Obviously,
Chandler. It's Chandler.
It would have been
Chandler as the inside track. Chandler might be dumb enough to be like, no, I am waiting for Conor.
Is it a smaller bag facing Islam over McGregor?
I don't know. It might actually be worth more money facing Islam directly, but it's not worth the same level of clout. And
that's what I would think too.
Has its own.
All right.
So I don't know. It's this fight hadn't gone down yet. Who the hell knows what could happen between now and October? We might recircle the wagons into this. Okay, well, is Volk okay from his elbow surgery? I don't think he's going to be, but maybe. Find out.
How does DuBronx beat Makhachev, Jed?
Oh, super easy. Because I don't know who the hell Makhachev is, but I assume he sucks at fighting, because I've never heard of him and I work in the sport for a living. So, Charles Oliveira is a damn good fighter. He's going to beat some random dude named Makhachev. He's not going to beat Islam Makhachev, if that's what the question was intending. We saw this fight. We saw it 1 year ago. Nothing substantive has changed in my mind to make me think I had supreme confidence in Islam going in, felt entirely vindicated coming out. Nothing has changed at all. This fight may be more competitive because I do think Charles Oliveira is a very smart fighter in that he learns lessons pretty quickly. We saw in the Makhachev first fight, like he was sort of content to not fend off takedowns and just, all right, I'm going to try and play my game. And he realized pretty quickly that that was just not working for him at all. And so then when he got stood up after that initial takedown and sort of grappling exchange, he was fighting that a lot more. So I think he will at least come into this knowing I really can't grapple with this dude. Like I can't be afraid to grapple with him because it's fist fighting. I have to be prepared for everything, but I can't go to my like, oh, I'll just fall over and it'll be okay because I'm so scary down there. That won't work at all. And so he's going to have some new tricks. He's going to contest the fight in a much more advantageous way for himself. He's just boned any way it goes, man. Like he's super dangerous. Cool. Islam Makhachev is statistically the greatest defensive fighter in the history of the sport. He's a very good defensive fighter. He can, as we saw, beat him on the feet if it's required. What does everybody say about Alexander Volkanovski? He's amazing at everything. He's an incredible striker who outboxed Max Holloway for 50 minutes or whatever their total combined fight time is. Islam Makhachev won the striking in that fight. Like he won the striking exchanges in that fight. He is just a huge problem for anybody trying to fist fight him, and Charles Oliveira especially so.
I have 10 fights. How many do you think DuBronx wins? If they fought 10 times. Two.
Maybe three. Somewhere 2 to 3 range.
Yeah, I'm there.
So, I mean, he just has, like, if you look at it, that he really just has to high roll. Like, he has to have a good one. Because you can't discount that he is, like, a super dangerous dude, and he hits really hard. And everybody can get caught. And, like, maybe Islam has a bad day, or he comes in injured. Like, any of those things can happen, but 25, 30% would be the percent chance I give Charles to win this fight. It's just, it's as bad of a stylistic matchup as can exist for him. Here's a dude
I'm trying to think of a worse one. I can't.
I genuinely do not believe there. Here's a guy he can't really hurt on the feet. Like he can, but it's so low probability because Islam gets hit like 4 times a fight or something insanely low. And on the ground, none of his stuff works because you're not going to triangle Islam Makhachev. Like that's just a non-starter from the. So it is just as bad of a stylistic matchup as you can draw for him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm trying to just picturing it in my head. Yeah, I think you're right. All right, let's get off this fight a bit.
Man, I didn't think we'd get a question like this so early. What upcoming women's fight are you most excited about? Doesn't have to be a title fight.
Ooh, I mean, I think Mike, you go first because I'm debating 2 of them. I gotta solve for which one I want here.
I mean, it's probably Grasso Shevchenko too. But I'm very intrigued by Aaron Blanchfield, Tyler Santos as well.
Ooh.
And I know and Manafioro Rose Namajunas is interesting because she's trying to go to 125 and I have no idea what she's going to look like. I feel like she's going to be really small and Man is just going to be so much bigger than her. But Blanchfield, Tyler Santos, there's a lot on the line in that fight. And if Aaron Blanchfield just goes out there and does to Tyler Santos what she's done to everybody else she's fought recently, that just kind of locks up the fact that I think Aaron Blanchfield's going to be a champ and not just a champ, but a champ for a very long time. So, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that fight.
I didn't think about that one. I'm not that I'm looking forward to it, but I think Aaron Blanchfield is the best fighter in this weight class and is going to have a very good night against Tyler Santos. So less intrigued by that one or excited about. So the first one is the Shevchenko Grasso rematch, just because that's like a pretty important fight. And the first one, I particularly remember how that happened. But I don't think I can be the most excited for that one just because that fight really wasn't that fun until the end, which was obviously extremely memorable. And it probably still won't be that sort of it's not going to be a barn burner because when does Valentina Shevchenko have super thrilling fights? It's not really part of what happens with her. So I was going to say the one I'm the most excited about is really just the one I'm the most interested in. And it is Manon Fiorot versus Rose Namajunas. Just because I want to see what this looks like. Macy Barber came on the MMA Hour this week and was like, I think Rose is too small. And I kind of think that might be true. I don't know that Manon Fiorot is going to be the one who really showcases that. But like, I want to see what Rose looks like moving up a weight class. It's particularly interesting because she has 2 wins over the current strawweight champion. So moving up doesn't even feel necessary. Like, this is a choice and a pursuit for her. So it's certainly the most fascinating of them. And I will throw a shout out to Weili Zhang and Amanda Lemos because both of those women are incredibly fun fighters, and that fight is probably going to be sick until Weili Zhang wins it. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Let me ask you this. If Erin Blanchfield does what you think she's going to do against Taila Santos and Rose Namajunas beats Manon Fiorot, is Erin Blanchfield waiting longer for a title fight? Are they going right to Rose?
I think Erin Blanchfield's going to get the title fight if she runs over Taila. If she like wins a tight splitty and Rose just blows the doors off Manon, then Rose can certainly get that. But it will also depend on what the Grasso-Shevchenko fight ends up being. Because if Shevchenko wins, we're probably running a trilogy right back on that. Like, that's probably how they'll settle that. So then if that happens, we may just get Blanchfield Rose for the number 1 contender spot, which is fine. Like, it's, it's a thing that has to happen. But I would say that if Blanchfield does what I think she's going to do and wins convincingly, she's going to get the title fight over Rose.
So if you're Manon, are you the biggest Taila Santos fan on the planet? If you're Manon Fiorot? If Taila wins and then Manon goes out and finishes Rose, they go to her? I don't know. It's kind of an interesting place adding Rose to this mix.
Well, that's why I said it's the most interesting, because the permutations here are a lot. Thing for Manon is I don't know that that's going to work out for her, just because if Taila wins, then Tyla's in a pretty good position herself. She has just beaten the hot young prospect, right? Like the person who's supposed to be coming up. She went hammer and tongs with Valentina Shevchenko, who may or may not be the champion, depending on how that all rolls out. And many people thought she deserved an immediate rematch there. So like if Shevchenko wins and they don't do Grasso 3, or even if Grasso wins, maybe it's like, well, Santos also should have beaten Shevchenko, so let's run it. So I think Manon's fighting one more time regardless of what happens. If she beats Rose, maybe that's just enough. Maybe that's just enough juice because Rose is such a name, but she's in a really tight spot here. She needs to impress against Rose, not just win.
25 is a good division. A lot of fun. A lot
Sick
of names.
Division. It was always going to be the best division in women's MMA. You can argue whether it is that right now or not. I would say that it is, but it was always just going to take a couple of years because there were going to be a bunch of 115ers that were cutting too much, and then a whole ton of 135ers who were not really big enough to be a bantamweight. And that's happened, and now 125 is arguably the best division in women's mixed martial arts.
Yeah. Cool.
At the expense of bantamweight, which is now awful.
The iconic voice. How is everyone planning to double screen next weekend's fights? The Spence Crawford pay-per-view starts early at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Well, I'll be doing the watch party, so I will probably have to miss Spence Crawford live unless we can perform some kind of magic. But what's your plan, Jed?
Well, I'll be live blogging. So the main card for I assume we haven't really parsed that out, but I usually am doing that. So I'm going to guess I'm doing that. So I have a two screen setup that I will use. So I will put Spence Crawford on, and hopefully I will get to watch it sort of unencumbered, but I will be working. So I'll be forced to focus more.
If you were
on
off the clock, just at home as a fan, you have 2 screens. The fights are going on pretty much at the same time. What gets the bigger screen, and what audio are you listening to?
Spence Crawford gets the bigger screen for all of it until we get to the main event of the UFC. I love boxing, but I'm a bigger MMA fan, and Poirier Gaethje is. There's nothing that I like. There are maybe 2 other fights that could be put together right now that I would rather see than this. So that gets primacy all day. And that's not like, and I honestly am pretty interested in the Blachowicz Pereira fight, like in some of the other fights going on this card, but Spence Crawford that's as good of boxing as it gets, and A-level boxing is some of the most compelling sports in the world.
Yeah. Pereira Blachowicz is a lot more interesting now since the last time we were here, isn't it?
Is it? Why? What happened?
Well, we don't have a champion right now.
No champion at 205.
Oh, and they then there was even that rumor that they were making this for the vacant belt, which they frankly should. Why not? Who the hell cares? It'd be fun as hell. Alex Pereira comes in as a 2-division champion in like 2 years. Nothing would be hilarious. Even though he's going to get worked. Yeah,
You think so?
He's going to get worked. I think Blachowicz is about as bad of a matchup as you could ask for him. Like at light heavyweight, like Blachowicz is very defensively sound, particularly with kicks, and he is a far superior grappler to Alex Pereira. He's just gonna it's gonna be the Izzy fight, only probably much more aggressive grappling than against Izzy, who I think is a better defensive wrestler than Pereira.
Yeah, it is it's going to be in a big cage, so that would be better for Pereira, but not big enough.
It is, but the problem with Pereira, and like part of why I think he's a worse defensive wrestler than Izzy, is he is much heavier stance. Like he is much more of a plodding forward fighter than Izzy, who's a lot lighter on his feet, which makes him more agile for a big cage and stuff. Like he's just gonna be there to get taken down, and Blachowicz is gonna check all of his kicks because he's exceptionally good at defending kicks, and he's just gonna grab him and tackle him and go from there.
I have a Brazilian teammate who has sparred many times with Mr. Pereira, and he was talking about him. He was like technically he's nothing really blows you away. He goes he's just not afraid to get hit, and if he touches you, my God, it hurts.
He boops. Yeah, he has the big boop.
He's got that boop. Yeah,
big boop.
That's all he said. He's like he's got the He said in Brazilian he's got the boop.
Yeah, he's got. It's the funniest thing to watch him fight because you can see it. Like I don't know nearly as much as you. I'm like he's not the most like technically refined dude, but he just boops you and then you fall out of the sky. Like Sean Strickland's a tough dude. Sean Strickland is a guy who we have seen get hit hard by big shots and not go down. Alex Pereira sent him into the multiverse with not even that hard of a punch. Like it wasn't like a Tekken uppercut. It was just a boop. And Sean Strickland died. Like this man is impossible. It's awesome.
What is going to happen with Corey Sandhagen? So before all this other news came out about UFC 294, we confirmed a report from the Schmo Zone. Corey Sandhagen needs a new opponent for UFC Nashville. That event is happening in 2.5 weeks. And he was supposed to fight Umar Nurmagomedov. Umar's got some shoulder issues. He's out of the fight. And now we have to figure out who's going to fight Corey Sandhagen. As of now, the plan is to try to find somebody else. What are we going to do here, Jed? What is the plan here for Mr. Corey Sandhagen?
I believe what we're going to do is we're going to have Jessica Andrade fight Tatiana Suarez in the main event of UFC Nashville. And Corey Sandhagen is not going to get busy. I think Corey Sandhagen is probably smart enough not to fight some like no-namer or whatever because of where he's at in his career. There have been rumors of a couple of other people out there, which would at least be fine. And maybe that's it. You know, maybe you do get somebody like a Rob Font or something to step in on short notice, but I don't know, man. You can also just run the Andrade Suarez fight. Like that's a very relevant and important fight between highly ranked fighters, and Corey Sandhagen can wait for somebody else to fight. So I'm not 100% sure. Here's what I am 100% sure about, Mike. I was going to go to this one. Nashville's not a very far drive to me. I was going to, get my creds and go and do it just because like, here's Umar's arrival. Like he's going to be a thing. Let's be there for it. And now I am probably not going to make the trek up to Nash Vegas for this one because the rest of that card, bit of a tough hang. It's not awful, but if something falls out with Andrade Suarez, then I don't know who's main event in this thing.
So
Tanner Boser, who I'm not sure the UFC wants to put a microphone in front of him anymore. So I don't know who's doing it.
I don't know if you guys saw that clip from James Lynch. If you haven't seen it, go on his Twitter and check that out because he just went banana and it was tremendous. So
I think we're not going to see Tanner Boser re-sign with the UFC after this fight. That's my professional opinion is Tanner Boser will be in the PFL.
That makes me sad that fighters just saying saying the truth. That's talking. Yeah, that's saying bad things.
So I think Rob Font would make a lot of
the truth.
I think Font would make a lot of sense here. However, the timing kind of stinks because Rob's supposed to fight 2 weeks later. So the timing actually works out, but the card's in Boston, and the UFC hasn't been in Boston in 4 years, and we know how much it means to Rob to fight at the TD Garden, the place where the Celtics and the Bruins have won championships and all that. The banners, everything. Like, that means a lot to him. And he's got a tough opponent in Song Yudong. He's been preparing for a 3-round fight with Song Yudong. They're a very meticulous group over at the New England Cartel. They have game plans. They handle things with a New England Patriots mentality. So the juice is going to have to be worth the squeeze for Font to be like, all right, I'll not fight in Boston and fight this other guy with a totally different style than Song Yudong. Let me throw another name out here, Jed, because as you know,
you say the name I want.
UFC 292 features several bantamweight fights, and they obviously we don't know what they are yet, but word on the street is that the 2 tough finale fights are going to happen on this card as well. So we have to figure out like who's going to fight who over the next 4 weeks during the Ultimate Fighter. There is a bantamweight fight on the card featuring a pretty well-known name. His name is Cody Garbrandt. And if we're going to lose one fight from this card, from that division, wouldn't you think Cody Garbrandt versus Mario Batista would be the one to lose? Maybe you just give Cody his shot. Big name. Let Corey try to take out a former champion. And if somehow Cody Garbrandt beats Corey Sandhagen, all of a sudden, the man is back into title contention. So the stakes should be high. Be a great opportunity for Cody Garbrandt because I don't love his chances against Mario Batista from a stylistic perspective. But if he goes in there and just shocks Corey Sandhagen, that's not a bad spot for him to be in. So if I'm Cody Garbrandt, I'm getting on the horn with my manager and the UFC and saying, give me this fight. And I think this name would actually be okay to be the replacement. Let Rob fight Song on the fight because it's one of the exciting fights on the card. Garbrandt Batista is interesting, but way better opportunity for Garbrandt here. And if that card lost Garbrandt Batista, it would sting a little bit to the hardcores, but it's not going to really hurt all that much, right?
No, that's a really good idea. I don't like Cody's chances, but I don't know what to do with Cody Garbrandt anyway. Like the Trevin Jones fight just convinced me that he's all the way done. Even though he won that fight, he really struggled to win that fight. So I don't like his chances, but I think that's probably the best you can do in this circumstance if you are really committed to keeping Corey Sandhagen on this card. I think everything you said makes total sense. So if they're really committed to keeping Corey on this card, then yes. I don't know, I'm not Corey Sandhagen. I don't know what he's got to do in places or whatever, but I would say if he wants to hang around and wait for, I don't know how long Cejudo's out. It's like a shoulder issue, right? Or whatever. So I don't know how long he's out missing the 292 thing, but maybe Corey can do that sort of, or just see where the chips fall with some other things if he doesn't feel like taking that fight or if they can't get Cody to agree to it. But it's a good answer.
Yeah. And a lot of people want to see Dominic Cruz step in, and I get that.
That's all I want. I've wanted that fight for
that.
10 years because they are the same. That is Sub-Zero versus Scorpion. They are just palette swapped each other's, and I need to see them fight. I have to see it before it's done, even though Dominic at this point is probably going to get run over. Need to see it. I would love that to happen.
I just don't know if Dominic takes that.
I doubt he's going to take it on 2 weeks' notice. That seems like a lot.
Has Dominic ever taken a short notice fight? I know.
I can't say off the top of my head because it feels like all of his fights were actually 8 years of notice because he would take 3 years off.
Yeah, it was like.
So maybe he did, and I just can't recall it. But I mostly remember him. He hasn't fought in 3.5 years.
Yeah, it would have to be back like WEC days or something. Like he took anything short notice.
I don't know, but I love Sandhagen. Could watch that dude fight all day. You're not alone, Esther Lynn. You are not alone.
All right.
What's Peter Yan doing? Run that one back.
Hey, if you can go in 2.5 weeks, I wouldn't hate that one.
Dude, just remove the weight cutting so you can just go. Like, okay, well, fight at 140 or whatever.
I was wondering when this is coming. This is interesting right now. All right, because to kind of lay out the land, if you guys just woke up and didn't see what happened last night, not only did we get the 294 announcements, not only did we find out yesterday that Umar is out of the Nashville main event with Sandhagen, Israel Adesanya jumped on social media and basically said Dricus du Plessis is not fighting in Sydney, which is not a huge shock. We hated this fight in the booking.
He's running
the
away.
Of it to begin with.
He's so afraid of me.
So Izzy's basically saying, dude, I'm fighting on this card. DDP ain't fighting. Strickland, you're the next man up. So there you go. That's one piece of this puzzle. The other piece, we found out that Khamzat Chimaev is coming back. His fight is booked October 21st, fighting Paulo Costa. Both Costa and Ikram Aliskerov, both fighting on this card, no longer against one another. And now we have Khamzat going to 185, du Plessis coming off the big win over Robert Whittaker. The post-fight stuff, the buzz behind this fight was huge. It seemed like somehow, some way, we're going to get this done for September 9th or September 10th, whenever this card's actually going to happen. And now we have Khamzat coming back. So, Jed, this question is, if Khamzat beats Costa, does that put him right behind du Plessis in terms of title contention? And if so, isn't that just going to put Khamzat on the shelf again? I will raise you another question here, because this is not, look, you mentioned DDP as leverage, and I think that's true in some respects. But Dana also, when he throws out a promise, he likes that promise to come true. And it doesn't appear like it's coming true here, that DDP is going to turn around quickly and fight Israel Adesanya. So let's just say Izzy fights Sean Strickland, goes out there and wins, and then Khamzat Chimaev comes back at UFC 294 and just trucks Paulo Costa. Like, this is take him down, beat the hell out of him. Whatever he did to Li Jingliang, he does the same thing to Paulo Costa. Is there any chance that Khamzat actually leaps over Dricus du Plessis here? Because Khamzat is one of the rising stars right now, and you can make a very strong argument that a Izzy Khamzat fight would do better numbers than an Izzy Dricus du Plessis fight. So what happens here? If Izzy goes out there and just beats Sean Strickland, like many expect him to do, but Khamzat just runs over Paulo Costa, do you think that changes anything?
To quote Marlo Stanfield, sounds like one of them good problems. Then you got multiple contenders for your champion. That's multiple bankable contenders for your champion. I don't think anything Khamzat does is going to bump him over du Plessis, because he didn't just knock out Robert Whittaker, which is that's sort of just the trump card here. Like, yeah, if du Plessis was not fighting because he didn't take the Whittaker fight and he was injured or something, then yeah, absolutely. But no, he fought Whittaker, fought the fight that nobody thought he could do, and then he did better than anyone could have even really imagined him pulling off against the guy. I think he is just locked in. I think the build and the bank for this, they have the face-off in the cage, as cringy as it was at times. They have the clear vitriol between, I'll just say the vitriol between Izzy and du Plessis. DDP doesn't seem to have any vitriol for Izzy. He just sort of doesn't like him, but Izzy is like extremely personal about this. So I don't care what Khamzat does, in part because, yeah, maybe he's on the shelf again. We've now seen pretty definitively that Khamzat can just go away for a while, and people are stoked when he comes back. So he goes out there and rolls over Costa. You just sit him cage side he can weigh in as the backup for an inevitable DDP Izzy fight. Sit cage side, and then they can do a face-off from that, whoever comes out of that winning. And all of this, though, does presume that Izzy does fight Sean Strickland and beat Sean Strickland. And it would be real MMA and incredibly funny if Sean Strickland just ruined all of this by somehow beating Izzy in Australia. That would just be, this would be one of the funniest years on record in MMA history if that happens.
Wow.
Are you predicting that?
I'm not, but it would be really funny. It would make me really happy. Also, just so we're clear, like 3 weeks ago, we were having the conversation of Charles Oliveira says he can't fight, and now Charles Oliveira is fighting. The only person who has said DDP isn't fighting in Australia is Izzy in a profanity-filled tirade on social media. That is not an announced fight. That could still totally happen too. So we'll see.
I was about to say that. I was like,
I don't
do
think
you think Izzy, this maybe Izzy
I
actually
said-
trying to force DDP's hand a bit?
I said from Jump Street that I didn't think DDP was going to make the turnaround because it was too fast. But we do not need to take what Izzy says as gospel because one, he's misspoke and just been outright wrong before. So I would say don't count all your chickens here. But yeah, the likely outcome is we're going to get Sean Strickland Izzy in Australia, and that's going to be a fight.
Yeah,
it's fine.
All
right.
The build will be just as weird and bizarre. So it'll just be a different kind of weird and bizarre.
It's going to be really bad. Someone needs to tell Izzy he needs to speak less. He's getting really into Tito territory of like, he just talks a lot. And so some people think he's good at it, but every time he talks, it's pretty bad. The thing he called, like, I'm not going to repeat it on air because, YouTube.
Oh, he's doing
the name he called
thing.
DDP
He's
is
doing
just
the name thing. I didn't like that.
It's like,
I don't like
that's
that.
Colby Covington corny. Like the same tier of awful.
Yeah, all that. Yeah.
Like you can just be like justifiably angry that this man said you weren't African. Like that's legit. You could just carry that. You don't need to go into like bad third grade name calling. Like I think certain fighters really have this idea that like, I'm going to be clever by turning that guy's name into something disparaging. And it's usually homophobic because that's MMA for you. When actually, like, I have could never once care if somebody says, I don't know, whatever you want to make out of my poop or something dumb like that. Like, but if you're just like,
Jed poop. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Listen, shitbird, I'm going to fuck you up in Australia. Like, that's so much better than the dumb shit that they are. Just you're not clever, so don't be it. You don't need to. You can just be justifiably angry and it sells it so much better. It's my Jed talk right there for you.
Jed Mapoop.
Thank you, Jed Mapoop.
Honestly, sort of surprised I haven't been called that at some point in time. But I was just trying to think of my name. I was like, how do I do anything with it? I was like, I don't know.
All right. Sticking with Costa real quick.
This is a great question. Has Costa signed a new contract, or is the Khamzat fight the last on his deal? Is it possible this is his last UFC fight? I think all of these options are in play, but if I had to guess, Jed, my guess would be yes on questions 2 and 3. That he didn't sign a new deal.
Last on his deal on his last fight in the UFC. Yeah, I am assuming that he has not signed a new deal. If I'm Costa, why the hell would I? Like,
yeah.
If I'm Costa and I signed a new deal, they wouldn't give me this fight. They would give me something else. But pretty clearly, like the Aliskerov fight was them just not doing him any favors whatsoever. If I'm him, like, sure, this is maybe a setup fight for you to lose. But also, if you win, then you have even more bargaining chips to go to PFL and be like, here's the price I will demand for my services. So I wouldn't sign one if I was him.
Yeah, 100%. Yes. Julianna Pena, another memorable appearance on the MMA Hour. I gotta say, Jed, she was really good.
Didn't watch a second of it.
She was good. Look, the Nunes slander and the whole I chased her out of the division is dumb. Like, I think we can all agree that
she was afraid of me after beating my face in for 25 minutes. She
that
didn't want to break her hands anymore.
But the quick wit, the heel persona about like literally anybody else she's asked about was really good. I love the Macy Barber stuff. I thought that was hilarious. You know, what do you think about Macy? She's like, well, have a protein shake and come up to 135. Like, all that was good stuff. But I don't know, Jed, where are you at with Julianna Pena? Take Amanda Nunes out of the equation, and I think I like her a lot more. Or at least I appreciate the persona a little bit more without Amanda around when she's spouting off the nonsense about her.
I appreciate the effort. I appreciate that she is actively trying to draw interest in some way, which there aren't any women's bantamweights trying to draw interest in any way realistically. It all is tough. Like it's a really narrow window to hit to pull this off. You have to actually be good at fighting, and I have no idea if she is or not. She beat Amanda Nunes, so she doesn't suck at it. She also has no wins over anyone currently employed by the UFC. So like it would all hit a lot better if she. That's the biggest issue, and you see this issue a lot with various fighters. It works when you can back up the things you are saying, and when you don't, if you're not part of the joke, then it really doesn't work. And I think that nobody ever understands that. Like, there's a lot of problems with what Chael said, like morally. He said some pretty bad things at various points in time. But the key thing to his persona getting over is, for a stretch, he was backing it up, and that's crucial. And then when he wasn't, he's part of the joke. It is a winking, tongue-in-cheek acknowledgement of what I am saying. Oh, I thought if I tapped out, it just meant I lost the round, not that I lost the fight. And he's not going too hard into it. So it is inclusive as opposed to defining the lines of, here are my fans and here's everybody else, because there aren't Julianna Pena fans. Nobody gives a shit about Julianna Pena. Colby Covington is doing the same thing. And so I think that's where it's like a lot of fighters miss. I can appreciate what Pena is trying to do. And sometimes it feels like she maybe does understand the joke, and that is key. But then a lot of times, like if she said that Amanda Nunes stuff and I was certain that she didn't believe it, it would be fine. But she says the Amanda Nunes stuff, and I kind of think that she believes it because the way she carries herself. And so then it's like, you're actually just delusional, and not like in a fun way, in a insane way that makes it tough for me to cheer for you at all. So that's not just a her thing. That's most people trash talking in MMA. And like, to close out on this, like, you notice with Conor, his trash talk sucks now because his trash talk was largely good when he could back it up, and then he can't back it up anymore. And so it's like, I'll rip your head off to Khabib, who emasculated him in the cage, who beat him up so badly that he didn't use any energy and had plenty of it and try and fist fight Conor's whole team afterwards. Like, you can't talk shit to somebody in those circumstances. It doesn't work unless it is a Chris Tucker-esque, I know that what I am saying is ridiculous. And so that's where everybody sort of fails in MMA. Except Chael. He was really good at that part of it.
Casey, it seems like you love Julianna Pena and everything she stands for and says. You almost left the room when I was like,
when she brought back the whole "I'm the real mom" thing, I was like, we're doing this again. I think when she hit that point like 10 times, like I'm a real mom, like I'm the real mom champ. I was like, that kind of got me, but I get it. It's working because I do want to see Julianna Pena's next fight. And,
oh, wow. Words I've never said.
Because of this, for some reason, I do want to see Maycee Barber versus Julianna Pena. Not for the title, but I kind of want to see it now. I don't know why. So I'm not saying, I'm going to, it's
Barber
fight
could
I want
win
to
that
see.
fight. Barber could win that fight.
Yeah.
That'd be funny.
Which middleweight would bench press the most? I think Cannonier.
I don't know, man. I'm looking over the top 15 right now. The UFC's top 15, not the real top 15.
I'd say Khamzat's probably up there.
No, I don't know, man. Khamzat kind of has a bird chest.
But he's just a giant dude.
I mean, yes. But he's got that core wrestling strength though. Like, that's all core. That's not pecs.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think who. I mean, I'm sure that Paulo Costa does well on the bench reps, but I don't know that he's maxing out high.
I was like, who's got the biggest beach muscles?
I just think Khamzat could plant those feet and just get it up there.
Like, I think
it doesn't have to be pretty.
He's not going to he's not going to embarrass himself, but got a little bit of a bird chest. I don't think Khamzat's the answer. I think he's got that functional. In the same way that, like, I don't think Khabib was out there just throwing up record numbers in the AKA weight room, but everyone you talk to is like, actually, Luke Rockhold, feel that he holds me as hard as Daniel Cormier does. So it's that functional core strength. I'm trying to think who.
Let me throw out a name, and I think this guy's probably up there. Phil Haas.
Phil Haas is the actual correct answer. That's it.
I was trying to think of someone like Joaquin Buckley's physique, but like a true 85er. It was Phil Haas. That's it.
Yeah, Phil Haas is actually exactly that person. So.
What a question. What a question.
Phil Haas, I have long argued, and I'm speaking with Peter Murray of the PFL later today. I have long argued that what I want more than many things in this sport that's achievable, I want a combine. I want the UFC to say it's International Fight Week and we're doing all this stuff, but also on International Fight Week, we're going to have the MMA combine. We're going to bring in all the lightweights and whatever. We're going to fly them all in and we're going to put them through, rep the bench, run the 40, give me a vertical. I want to know the physical athletic stats on these people. It would enhance my viewing experience so much. I cannot really put it into words. I would love to see Phil Haas. Can he put 225 up 30 times? I could buy it. Like, I could totally buy that. So just do that. Somebody do that. That's all I want.
Would you do 225 as the standard, or would you go lower? Would you do like 185?
You probably don't do 225 because that's probably, but maybe you just scale it up for weight class, right? Like, because that sort of, you'd have to figure it out. You don't just take the NFL combine metrics, because I don't know that we need a shuttle in the same way. The short shuttle probably isn't as important, though it does, measure explosiveness and things like that. Just, you could figure out what the categories you want for a combine are and what they look like, and some of them will test, functional core strength. And why not bench press? Bench press, deadlift, like squat. Give me your totals. Who's total leading in the UFC right now? Probably not anybody, because 2,000 is a lot, but like, give me the totals for everyone and be like, all right, well, Henry Cejudo squats 450 and benches 210 or whatever. Like, I want to know. That's what I want.
That's awesome.
It would be the most electric viewing that I have in MMA every year. I'd be like, guys, I know that most of y'all don't care, but I could not be more interested to see who is the best at bench in the UFC middleweight division.
And the crazy part is, like, someone like Anderson Silva will come in probably last. I feel like in almost a lot of these things.
No, that's the thing. He'd do bad in some of them, right?
But like, sorry, not everything.
I bet his vertical's great. The explosive ones, the
but
quick
you want to see. You
could do you could do the F1. Like, you guys ever watch F1? And they like F1, like aside from the many other things, one of the things is critical is driver reaction time, because getting off the line. And so they do like you'll see them train and do a whole bunch of things. One of them is the light wall, and it's just a wall full of light, like tap things. And when the lights blink up, you tap them and you try and go through as many as you can in 30 seconds. Like, Anderson would have done incredible at that versus other people. So like, put that one in, because that actually like would be a super relevant thing to fighting. Like, you could find the right metrics that you want to measure.
Well, I think you do that. I think you do like the bench and squat. I think that'd be fun. And then like sandwich in between. Like, those are just like bonus
I have
workouts.
to have a 40. You got to give me a 40.
Yeah.
I need
and then mix
the 40,
in like
even
couple
though the
CrossFit
40 isn't good.
And just do a couple CrossFit competition workouts.
Like, I want
do
verticals.
that every day.
Give me standing vertical. That's not a hard ask. Long jump. Why not? Just give me the explosive metrics. We can figure out things and do them. I want to see them.
The problem is, how many Jamahal Hill situations would you get?
Dude, it would be awesome. It would totally jack up my perception of who's good at fighting. The same way the NFL prospects, I never know the good ones, because I'm like, holy shit, that 270 dude just ran the shuttle in like under 11. It's like, oh my God, he just did a 4.640. That man is 280. Like, he's the greatest fighter that's ever lived. And then he sucks because he's Greg Hardy or whatever. It would be incredible for my content experience.
I think everyone's on board with this. I'm gonna tweet at
Tenzin, you've nailed it. If I get, whenever people ask, like, what was the one thing you do if you got to be president of the UFC? My answer's always been like, I'll just pay fighters more because I just pay them 50% and then solve that problem. I don't even care about that anymore. The fighters don't want that money because they're not fighting for it themselves. If I got one rule, I would replace Tough with the Combine. It would be the best thing that ever happened. I'd watch the Combine show every week religiously.
I love it.
All right.
We're going to bring in 10 lightweights this week. Do the Combine metrics. Let's go. Hell yeah. What is 41-year-old Jim Miller putting up on a 40? I need to know. I need to know. You guys telling me you don't want to see Parker Porter try and hit a vertical? What's Parker Porter's vert? You guys don't want to know? Come on. Don't act like that.
What's the
Don't lie.
what's
Don't
the
lie
big
to me.
what's the record? Because whatever it is, add 10 inches to it.
Thank God we got some Parker Porter in here. All right.
It's the best.
He is.
Futurama's coming back? I had no idea.
I had no idea. No
I didn't even
clue.
know.
Learning things.
Cool.
Yes,
I'm pretty
I had
stoked.
no idea.
I haven't watched it yet, but I'm pretty stoked about the Justified miniseries that's on Hulu. I don't know if y'all watched Justified. That show kicked ass.
I watched like a couple episodes. FX usually does a really good job at producing programming. I just watched the final episode of Mayans MC this morning, and that was something.
I fell off of that. But yeah, didn't know Futurama's coming back. That's fun though. It's a good show.
Who is the most athletic person in the UFC?
If we had a combine, we'd know.
We would know. You're just
set you up. There you go.
Yep.
Just
Perfect.
dunked it right to the. I answered
If
this
you had to guess
question once
right now
for history. If I had to guess right now, it's a really good question. I answered this question once on Hot Tweets for historical purposes. I was like, who are the greatest athletes ever? And I think that there's three pretty clear ones, and then the rest like that elevate above. And it was Kevin Randleman, Yoel Romero, and Brock Lesnar. I think all three of those are among the most athletic human beings who have ever lived. Full stop. So you put them in the cage. They're the best at that. Current UFC fighters. I'm
Volkanovski?
trying to think here. He's a good athlete. I don't know if he's like that tier, but he's a really good athlete.
Yeah.
It used to be easy because like Tyron Woodley was there for a while, and he was probably the best athlete in the UFC for a long stretch. I'm trying to go through the rankings and see who's jumping out at me.
Some people are mentioning
like
Cyril Gane. Maybe.
Cyril Gane's a good athlete.
As far as a heavyweight, I think heavyweight athlete. Yeah.
I mean, John Jones is probably more athletic than Cyril Gane. And that's just one of the things that I harp on all the time is like John Jones is probably one of the most athletic people that have ever competed in MMA. And this is that I don't have any issue saying that. And so he's probably the correct answer. I think it's incredibly important for people to recognize that John Jones is the least athletic member of his family. And like so when I say things like MMA could be better, it's like think about if everybody competing was John Jones at the worst. Instead of the best people we have are John Jones. Like the sport could get so much better if that level of investment. But like, look at John Jones with his brothers. You're like, oh yeah, you are not nearly the athlete that Chandler Jones is or whatever. Like, it's pretty, and it feels to me armchair psychology, right? But like that feels pretty indicative of why John is the person he is. Like, he grew up as the least athletic person, and he's incredibly athletic. It's like, and yet he goes home for Thanksgiving, and he is the runt because his brothers are unbelievable otherworld athletes. I think John is going to be my answer. I think that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I'm with you. Jailton Almeida is probably up there.
Jailton Almeida, a very good athlete. I'm trying to avoid heavyweights though, because
Yeah.
that's just boring.
I'm trying to think.
I mean, Cejudo's got to be up there.
So Cejudo is, but Cejudo's older, so that's docking some points because peak Cejudo was very high on the list, but he's definitely
Sterling
older now.
Aljo.
Sterling's a pretty good one.
I almost wonder what prime UFC Demetrius Johnson.
Ilya's pretty athletic. I mean, he would have done unbelievably well at the combine.
Yeah.
Like not like raw scores because you're comparing him, but like
For his size.
You prorate his scores out, he would have done unbelievably well.
Yeah. All right.
Who else? I'm going to keep looking at this list while we move on to other questions.
All right.
Robert Whittaker is very athletic.
Buckley.
Buckley's
a really
kind
good
of narrow. Buckley is a very good athlete, though.
Maybe someone like Yair. I wonder if someone like Yair.
Yair's interesting. He's not a bad athlete. I don't know if he's that level. I was thinking Ilya because Ilya is a pretty good athlete. So there's a lot.
Okay.
Like Cheeto is like also a really good athlete. No one just recognizes that part of his game.
All right.
Yair, I wouldn't put as like the best athlete, but he would be.
I actually have my
great
answer.
at everything. What is it?
I have my answer. It's really dumb that I didn't immediately. I think it's Weili Zhang. I think Weili Zhang is, compared to peers, the best athlete. I think she's a far better athlete than anybody else competing in women's mixed martial arts at the moment.
Yeah,
I think Tatiana Suarez is probably up there too.
Could be, very very much could be. But like Shevchenko had it for a while. She's old, so like that's like she was. Half of Shevchenko's title run was just simply being way more physically imposing than anyone she faced. Weili Zhang is like that. Like I think Weili Zhang is probably comparatively the best athlete in the sport right now.
It's a great pick. Jed, are you placing any bets on the September 16th main event between Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko?
I haven't looked at the odds. I mean, I will be. I haven't looked at the odds. But yeah, I don't learn lessons. Who learns things? Just keep firing, baby. Shoot from the hip forever. Do I have odds? I'm going to try and see it. I've got minus
right
230
now
for Shevchenko. DraftKings has Shevchenko minus 230, Grasso plus 195. I mean, you should bet Grasso. That feels. I'm not saying Grasso should be the favorite. I don't know that Shevchenko should be that big a favorite. I mean, I'm definitely going to bet on it. I'll probably bet Shevchenko by decision where that prop comes down at. Because Grasso's real tough. I don't think Shevchenko's getting her out of there if she wins. But I'm still begrudgingly choosing Shevchenko, even though historical precedent says that that's real dumb.
Right.
I'm going to die on my hill. That's where I'm going to be. That's my hill. I'm going to die right on it.
Has the decline of Robert Whittaker begun, or did he just have an off night against DDP, Jed?
Well, we're not going to know the answer to that for some time, just because you can't say it. I did sort of wonder that on the night, right? I guarantee you somebody in the comments has already been like, Robert Whittaker's only 32. This is a very dumb question. Age and decline are not necessarily correlated. Like they're related in some ways, but peaks hit it different. I feel like I've had this argument 1,000 times with Jose Aldo recently of like, Jose Aldo lost to Alexander Volkanovski and Max. Like, okay, but we can just look at the numbers and say, oh, he was 32. He was very clearly in his prime. Or we can use our eyeballs and be like, oh, yeah, he just didn't move in the same way that he did previously because fighting wears on your body differently. It all takes its toll in different ways. Not even fights. Training for X amount of years is very, very difficult. I think there is absolutely an argument that Robert Whittaker is on the decline. He began his professional career in 2009. That's 14 years in, and that is pretty much the mark. 12 years is around where you really start to see most people taper off historically, if you kind of look at it. There are outliers always. I think Max has been doing it for a little while, and I would argue pretty vehemently that Max is not in his prime anymore, just that his post prime is still very, very good. And a lot of fighters do that. Anderson Silva, when do you think Anderson Silva is always the answer I go to, because like it's easy to draw the line of Anderson Silva's prime ended when Chris Weidman hit him in the face and he fell over. I would really argue that Anderson Silva's prime ended at like Damian Maia. Like that was probably like the last that he was really in his physical peak and all of his skills worked in the same way. And then the rest of it, the Chael fight, like the Chael rematch and stuff, all of that sort of post prime. And he was just so damn good that his post prime was still better than the people he was facing. But like, it's ages and everything. I think Whittaker is probably not in his prime anymore. I think you could maybe even make an argument that he's not in his prime after he fought Yoel Romero the second time, because he took a hellacious beating in that 50 minutes of fighting Yoel. You hear him talk about fighting Yoel, and it's the type of shit that makes me never want to fist fight professionally, right? Like the way he's talked about Yoel is like, because I just this quote has stuck with me. It was when Izzy was coming up and Whittaker was still the champ, and he was like, "I want to see Izzy fight Yoel because he's talking all this game. Fight that dude. You don't know what it's like to hit that man. It felt like I was punching and kicking steel. It just felt different. And when you hear somebody talk like that, that is not usually the, hey, I just fist fought an iron block for 50 minutes and now I'm going to be so much better because this isn't a martial arts movie. Like, oh, that takes something out of you. I think you could probably make an argument that Whittaker's prime ended with the Yoel second fight and that he's just been in post prime since then, where he's still very, very good, but he has lost something. So it will only know at the end of his career. Like maybe this was just an off night. Maybe DDP is just really damn good and everybody is still underestimating him. Time's going to tell us.
Yep.
All right.
Take one or two more, and then we'll get out of here. Would love to know why Aldo nearly abandoned leg kicks during the last few years of his career.
I would argue that it's probably because he wasn't in his prime anymore. Because kicking people sucks. Have you ever kicked people? It's really, really shitty, man. And let me tell you, I don't kick people as hard as Jose Aldo kicks people. I can only imagine that it was way shittier for him to kick people than it was for me to kick people, you know? Like it's my answer to questions like this is always they got old. Because I think that's always just the right answer. Like Jose Aldo's not an idiot. He's one of the greatest fighters who has ever lived. He knows what his good weapons are. He knows that kicking against Max Holloway is actually an incredibly effective strategy. And he didn't do it. And it's the same when you hear fighters talk about various parts of their game. They're like, one of the big things that you'll hear as fighters get older is, I saw it. I saw what I wanted to do, and I couldn't pull the trigger anymore. That just didn't have the same reactions, the same thing. And the fastball goes away. You just can't do the same things. And so kicking, maybe Jose's out there and he wants to kick and he can't pull the trigger quick enough. And then the stance is shifted. And so it's not an opportune time anymore. My answer is always, if you see a fighter start to strip their game down to bare parts, like you saw with Jose, they're getting old and they are going to the most efficient tactics that they have and the ones that they can rely on the best, because their body is not complying anymore.
And he's been doing this for a long time, and kicking people
Sucks.
hurts. People think, yeah, it's fun to kick people, but it hurts you just as much. Like, yeah. So we don't.
It
we
is
don't
only
know,
fun to kick people if you are like soccer kicking the guts, not even the ribs, because the ribs still kind of suck. But if you get to soccer kick the like soft tissue, then it's fine.
You don't hit
Everything
the hip,
else,
you don't hit the
you're
ribs,
hitting
right?
bone. Yeah, everything else you are hitting bone with your bone. It has no protection on it. It is awful.
It's just because you train. If there's one thing that fans need to understand how much it hurts, I feel like getting your kick checked is something fans.
Sure.
If you've never experienced a hard kick, it makes you never want to throw a kick again.
Look, if you get your check kicked, if you want to know what it's like, did you ever ride a scooter and did you ever hit yourself in the shin with your scooter? It's like that, only way, way worse. Like it's way, way worse, because instead of accidentally hitting yourself in the shin, you are intentionally whacking your shin against a scooter functionally. It's awful. Kicking blows, man.
All right.
All right, one more. Last one.
Last one. Let me find a good one. Let me find a good one. I don't want to talk about Strickland. All right, this is a fun one. Just a futures one.
Man, Pro Fights Info has gotten like
Yeah.
13 questions.
He's good. Man.
Who will be champion 1 year from now that isn't a champion now? Aaron Blanchfield, to me, is one.
Easiest answer in the sport. I would bet all of the money on that one. If I had to bet my life on one, it is Aaron Blanchfield.
Who will be the women's bantamweight champion 1 year from now?
Jesus
1
Christ.
year from now, look, I'm going to choose to live this dream. Valentina Shevchenko.
Oh,
If she wins or loses against Grasso, like if she wins or loses against Grasso, maybe she has to run it back for a third with Grasso. And then if I'm Val and I have reclaimed the belt and I beat Grasso and I know I'm getting older and I know I just finally got caught, and even though I avenged it, I might look around and say, man, it took the exit. That was probably a smart idea. I'm getting older, and Aaron Blanchfield is just going to suck to fight. I don't want to fight her. That sounds miserable. I'm going to go up to bantamweight, and whether it's Raquel Pennington or Julianna Pena or Mayra Bueno Silva, whoever it is, I would say that Valentina Shevchenko has an exceedingly good opportunity to beat any woman at women's bantamweight right now in a fist fight. So she might as well go up, get the belt that eluded her while Amanda was there, and maybe hang it up as a 2-division champion and, in that status of her life. And if she loses to Grasso, she should definitely go up, because why the hell not? So Valentina Shevchenko will be my answer.
I'll say Mayra Bueno Silva.
Don't hate it. She's looked real good at bantamweight.
I would say Merab Dvalishvili will probably be a champion 1 year from now.
I would believe I'd be pretty confident in Merab being the bantamweight champion within a year.
Let's see. Any others?
Yuri?
Yuri, I think, is a good one.
And Yuri, I can't, because a year from now is so long. Like, you could run, like, maybe he has to fight Ankalaev in that time, and I think that's a pretty tough fight for Yuri.
So you're saying Ankalaev? Could be.
Oh yeah, but I also don't. I wouldn't be confident. Just don't know if Ankalaev is going to get the chance. And like, I thought that Ankalaev probably should have beaten Jan Blachowicz, if I recall. Maybe I scored that fight a draw. I've just kind of thought he's the best of the light heavyweight choices in general. So yes, but I have no idea where he's at in the title conversation.
He's gonna have to fight somebody else first. He's gonna have to fight like Johnny Walker and have like a great performance.
Feel pretty decent about Shavkat's chances of getting the belt within a year.
Timing's going to be rough, though. Timing's going to be rough.
In a full year?
Well,
you said Leon's fighting in November, so
that's what I feel. But what if Colby wins? You think Colby's going to fight freaking Shavkat within?
I don't believe Colby's winning. I think that might be where we're different. Yeah. I believe
if he does, though. There's a chance he wins, but do you think he's going to sit there and 8 months later fight Shavkat? I don't know.
I don't know who. I think there's a chance that if Colby wins, the UFC strips him, because Colby will not accept a fight with any. Who would Colby fight?
Yeah.
Who would he fight if he won? He's only going to try and fight Conor, because he's not going to fight. You think he's going to fight Bilal? No chance he accepts the fight. He doesn't want to fight Bilal. That's such a waste of him. So it's going to be Shavkat, Bilal. He's going to be like, I will only fight Conor. And they'll be like, cool, we're taking your belt from you. They've done it before. They'll do it again.
They could. It's possible. Is Islam still the lightweight champion a year from now?
I would say yes. But I think he's probably getting close to the
Jailton Almeida
in a year from now. No.
Jailton Almeida be the heavyweight champion a year from now.
No.
Over John Jones?
I think he is. I think John Jones
retires.
No, I don't think he retires. I think he vacates the belt until something big comes his way. And
I still think John's going to fight again. Or Sergey. Or Big Serge gets it done. I'm done betting against Sergey. The man just kills people. He's like a heavyweight Alex Pereira. I'm done betting against him. So, I mean,
is Volkanovski still the featherweight champion a year from now?
No.
You think it's Ilya?
I think Ilya has a good chance. I think my answer for this is not, and everyone's like, Judge, just a Volcator. I've made this argument 1,000 times, and it's still the same true argument. It's really, really hard to be a champion for 5 years. Like it's incredibly hard to be a champion for 5 years. Volk is already unprecedented in being he's about to turn 35, and that will make him. He is currently the second oldest champion sub welterweight in UFC history. He will very quickly pass that. That's just uncharted territory. He's a great athlete, tremendous fighter. It doesn't take much. You fall off by 1%, and that's it, because fighters have a decade worth of tape on you. And Valentina Shevchenko is the best example of this. Alexa Grasso said afterwards, we watched tape. We have seen her propensity to throw this kick. We knew an opportunity would open when she threw a spinning kick for us to jump the back and execute. That's it. It wasn't a huge fuck up or anything like that. It was hey, here's a tactical choice she makes. Here is our counter to this, and the fight is over. Just small margins.
I feel like
too difficult over too long a time.
I feel like men's flyweight is going to be a hot potato.
Yeah,
which is going to keep
sure.
changing. Last here, what about Israel Adesanya, Jed? Well, Israel, whether he loses it in a fight or he vacates and moves up to 205, will Israel Adesanya be the middleweight champion 1 year from now?
I think I'm taking DDP in the fight. I think I'm talking myself into DDP when he does finally fight Izzy. And straight up, if he fights Khamzat, if Khamzat does roll through Costa, I'm a take Khamzat. So no, I will say Izzy will not be.
All right.
And I could look like a real idiot on that one. Like, Izzy's a great fighter, all-time great fighter. But I'm going to say no in a year because it's just really hard to be champion for more than a year. I mean, it's really hard to be champion at all.
At all.
It's incredibly difficult to be champion for 4 years. Like, no one does it. So,
And that is why, personally, Demetrius Johnson is my GOAT of MMA.
I think Demetrius Johnson has an exceptional argument for being.
I get the other ones. I get Jones. I get all the ones. But for me, because of what you said right there, Jed, all the tape on Demetrius Johnson, he still did it constantly and still doing it. So
I have John, GSP, Fedor, DJ, Aldo, and Anderson. Like, that's 6. You pick any of those, I don't have an issue with them.
Yep, me neither.
All right.
I think we're good, sir.
I think we're good. Fun show. Thank you for all the tremendous questions. It's going to be a very interesting couple weeks on this show. Obviously, next week we'll react to UFC London. We didn't get a single question about UFC London, but we'll have a preview show tomorrow.
I believe that.
We did
get ready for that. And then next week's
we
show.
got one. Actually, we did get one. We didn't talk about it. We can real quick. I figure we're going to talk about it in the preview show, but we did get one on Shauna Bannon. But
I have no idea. I'll defer to Mike on this one.
yeah.
I also have no idea. She could.
I
It'd
think
be cool.
I think she's going to win. I have no idea about her star potential.
She's a star,
Yeah.
but not. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think she's a title contender, but yeah.
She's got a winnable fight. She's got to win a fight she could win. So
She
that's
has
always
a very
good.
winnable fight.
So we'll see what she does. It'll be like a cool moment if she does, because that place is going to go bananas for her. So yeah, we'll see what happens. She's neither have a ton of experience, so it's hard to gauge where they're going to be. Bruna Brazil's first UFC fight was not. We didn't learn a whole lot in that fight, so we'll see. We'll see. Maybe some fighters can handle the stage very, very well, and some can't. So we'll have a better gauge on where Shauna Bannon goes after Saturday. But next week's show will be a lot of fun. We'll recap that. We'll talk about Shauna Bannon perhaps. And then we're going to get ready for UFC 291, ladies and gentlemen. UFC back in Salt Lake City, BMF title fight. We got Blachowicz versus Pereira. We got Wonderboy Pereira. We got Green Ferguson. We have Derek Lewis, Marcos Rogério de Lima, and Altitude. All sorts of fun stuff going down for UFC 291. So we'll talk about that. And then the following week, kind of up in the air what we're going to do, but it's going to be fun because we'll be getting ready for UFC Nashville. We'll be getting ready for Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz. I'll actually be in Dallas that week, so we'll try to figure out, maybe we'll do something while we're there. Maybe just everybody in the same room. We haven't done that before. So we'll figure that out. But Casey, you can hit the music. Next week we'll be back and we'll get you ready and prime you up for UFC 291. I know everyone's excited about that. So dance away. Thank you very much for the wonderful questions and for tuning into the program. For Casey, for Jed, I am Mike Heck. Back next week, Between the Links. Good night, everybody.
Love y'all.
Been Between the Links, an MMA fighting production on the Vox Media Network.